What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about Soundhound. Absolutely epic day. I want to break it down, what's really driving it higher, where is it going to go from here, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Soundhound is up a very impressive 14.15%, 1589 the high, $13.40 the low. So in general, I think it was gaining some good momentum because regardless, Soundhound should do fairly well under a Trump administration. So today, the market's trying to figure out what sectors are going to do good, what aren't, and I think Soundhound does fall under the criteria of going to be doing fairly well, but 50.7 million shares being traded today, 96.3 is the average. They did put out news this morning, which was this right here. So Rekor Systems taps Soundhound AI to revolutionize emergency vehicle technology with its first of its kind audio visual AI. So I think this is like a huge untapped potential for Soundhound. And I think in general, even with that CES event, I stated that a lot of their news and PRs that Soundhound put out was very, very timid, and because there's a lot of good potential for Soundhound. In reality, even looking over here, it shows that the US purchases roughly around 100,000 police vehicles annually. So I think there's a lot of good potential. The other stock, so Rekor, does seem to be really liking the news as well, so that is up 2.5% today. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of good potential with this partnership, and that's all Soundhound essentially needed. Again, it doesn't really talk on figures and how much Soundhound is essentially going to get, but I think Soundhound just needed some actual news to really push this higher. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Shorts though, and like obviously it wouldn't be a day without shorts doing something. They're still increasing 1.48 million shares. 25.96% of the free float is being shorted. So honestly, I know a lot of people love to just jump up and down, say short squeeze and blah, blah, blah. But given the macro conditions and just the fact that shorts have really overextended themselves by maintaining the position despite Soundhound really moving higher, I actually do feel that it could have a nice run leading into their upcoming earnings and potentially prompting a squeeze. Not a mother of all short squeezes, but I think shorts will naturally start to just leave leading up to their earnings, and then they'll probably base whatever else based on the numbers. But 85.43 million shares overall are being shorted, and just generally you can kind of see shorts have been increasing, so they've been increasing quite a lot. There's roughly 250,000 shares available to be shorted, so somewhat limited supply. So at the same time, that does mean that you might have actual increased buying coming from big names such as Vanguard, BlackRock, as they love to buy these types of stock that is kind of in demand for shorting, so they like to buy it and then obviously just lend it out. So that's it's a very profitable business for like BlackRock, for instance. So yeah, you could see a extra increase being pushed higher. There was also a post as well under Rekor, so they have roughly 1,000 followers. And they just said, imagine a world where police officers and first responders can manage critical systems entirely hands-free. So yeah, I think just bigger things are coming. There was a video over the weekend of, because I do have a dedicated Lucid channel, so it was more of a dedicated Lucid post, but it did incorporate that Lucid Assist, which aka is Soundhound. So I was kind of trying to find that video again, so I'll have that for next video, because I think in general it's a good representation of what Soundhound could really do, and it kind of matches with this as well. But aside from that, moving on, looking at options, 11 million in calls, 3.27 million in puts. 51% of all the options being done today are optimistic in nature. So you're not really seeing that level of hedging, despite it being up like 13+%. You're still seeing a lot more upside anticipated. Based on today, you are seeing a good consensus for it to be above that $20 range for this week. And even for next week, it looks like $20 is back on the table. So yeah, bigger and better things might be coming down the pipeline. But looking at the bears, though, they're still anticipating more of a breakdown. So kind of around that 13 to 1350 range. So they're anticipating more downside. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So a good amount of buying first thing. So that's really what pushed it higher. Some selling first thing. I don't really understand why people would be selling based on everything. There was a couple big sells pre-market, so I feel bad for those entities. I'm not really sure, again, the basis of why anyone would be really selling Soundhound into what was just stated yesterday. So Trump, in case you missed it, there was a lot of things that was stated, but he's going to be looking locally. So any domestic company is going to thrive, and obviously Soundhound hits that criteria. So I think in general, Soundhound is going to flourish. They're hitting a lot of other sectors and companies that is also going to benefit from under a Trump administration. So yeah, I think bigger and better things might be coming down the pipeline. So if you are into options and you're really looking for the best return on investment and you are optimistic and bullish on Soundhound, then start looking a little bit more outwards. Then that's potentially how you can make some very significant money. And yeah, also on a side note, I just want to bring up, they did increase this from 35 to 39 for the strike prices. So market makers are seeing possibly a little bit more upside. So that would be very, very epic. But as of right now, with it at $15.51, trading right between this R2 and this R1, 1561 is going to be that next strong kind of point for it to get above in order to continue this good momentum. Flip side, 1492 is going to be the next strong support. I don't see that being touched, but then again, Soundhound is a very volatile stock. Anything like you could be up 10% one day and in that same day then close 2% in the red, all over the place. So just kind of watch for the next strong support and resistance points. 1674 and then 1968 is going to be the following resistance points. That is if it does continue its good momentum. And with today's news, you never know, it could really prompt some analyst ratings and whatever else. But based on the actual chart itself, it is fully bouncing off the ALMA, so fairly good for that, and didn't even really touch whatsoever that 50-day moving average. And that was kind of the danger zone, but as I mentioned in my video, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, like everything was really pointing for it to really move higher. So the next real test is going to be the super trend of 2122, and that's even above the most optimistic options activity right now. But one thing that's really helping Soundhound is the fact that it is very oversold. So all they needed was some good news, such as what came out today. Then you were going to have a very nice push higher. So let me know your thoughts on Soundhound. Do you like today's news? What's your overall thoughts on all of that? And are you buying? Are you selling? What's your general viewpoint on that? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolute bangers. And I actually just did a Soundhound update, and it is relatively bullish. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.